Alright guys, so I'm kind of doing an update on this Range Rover Discovery. It's a 2016 with the 2-liter. I had done a video previously showing, trying to identify, checking the timing due to the trouble codes and symptoms this was having. I'll put a link up on that video just if you want to catch up. But the customer finally decided to go forward with the repairs, and it's actually been quite a few months since then. And it seems that he is now ready to do the repairs, and so he brought it back. And so one of the first things that I wanted to kind of point out that I noticed as soon as taking the valve cover off is if you take a look here at this phaser, that area there's supposed to be let's call it capped off there, and looks like that piece has fallen out, and so the intake phaser is no good for sure. It's damaged and not working. The other thing is that if you remember, this one was a little bit odd because the intake cam signal on the waveform when we scoped it seem to kind of fluctuate in kind of the size of the pattern. It would be wide and then kind of narrow, so on and so forth, compared to the exhaust. And so if we take a look here, and I'll try to explain here physically how we can tie in that data from the waveform by taking a look here. So naturally, all phasers will have a bolt right there in the center that will tie this together with the cam, and once the phaser moves, it'll move the cam. This one here, because of its nature of having failed, we now have some play there. If you look at the chain, it's not moving, but we can move the camshaft. That tells us that the cam is not locked to the phaser when it should be, and that is where we're getting some erratic movement in our pattern that is picked up from this trigger wheel here, or tone wheel, whatever you want to call it, from the cam sensor. So basically, at first startup, the cam signal was moving, like you see there, and would change and fluctuate in the shape. Basically, a change in rate of speed is what we were seeing. And it was up to a certain point on the waveform, and then it kind of stopped doing its fluctuation. And that is when this had enough oil to fill it and stay in there enough with RPM from the oil pump while it's running to basically stabilize and kind of hold the cam in one position. But up to that point, possibly because oil was leaking or would leak out of here, the cam was not stable, as we can see right now that it's not stable, it's not locked. Now for comparisons, I can show you. This is what a good one should be like. It should be locked to the cam phaser. Now that goes for pretty much almost all variable cam timing systems that I have dealt with or messed with. If these have failed and are not locked, you'll have that extra play, and then you know that you'll need to replace that. So that's basically a physical representation of confirmation of what the scope showed us. And again, it's just pretty cool that we can see all that just from graphing out signals from our sensors that watch the speed of the engine. Up top and down low. Alright guys, so I'm kind of just passing some info along on doing some timing on these 2.0 rovers. I've done quite a few of them. I've even done cylinder heads, so on and so forth. It's very critical and essential to get the timing tools for this, and you cannot get this done without the tool set. There's one piece actually that's missing, which I'll show you. So that's this guy here. The starting point for getting this all set up is getting the crank in the top dead center position, and that's by using this tool, and I'll get you a picture of what that looks like. Which is all fine and dandy, but on this setup installed in the car, you cannot get to the position that they need you to get the plug out and so on and so forth, because this axle and the bracket is in the way. You would have to remove all of that back here to get to the pin. Let me try to get a good shot. So it's that bolt head that you see sticking out behind the crankshaft connector. You cannot get to that because the bracket is in the way. Which that sets up the crank at a top dead center position. The way that I've figured out how to do it, by bypassing all that extra work, which would involve quite a bit of work, removing the axle bracket, so on and so forth, if everything comes apart easily, which suspension components usually don't or can fight you. This will save you some time. So what I do is rotate the engine, find top dead center accurately, the exact point for the piston, which would locate the crank in that spot. Now that pin down there will keep the crank from rotating further clockwise. You could go counterclockwise because of the way it's shaped. But the other deciding factor that let me do it the way that it is, or figure it out the way it is, they have you use this additionally to hold basically the crank at the flywheel by installing this where the starter goes, and I can get you a shot of that. I'll show you. I've got the starter removed right now, and so it'll go in that position, and it will hold the crankshaft. So that's what lets you do it this way. First, accurately find top dead center, this way that I am using, and then lock the crank with that flywheel holding tool. Next, I'll get you a shot of where the cam should be falling. In order to install this tool. When at TDC, and so these cutaways should be level to the cylinder head. There's another one here which is actually angled, so it's out of time, which we know both these are angled. Again, we knew that the top to bottom was incorrect with the timing. One last bit of advice: that end of that camshaft drives the vacuum pump. This is screwed in here on the camshaft, and it does have a cutaway which can make you think that's what you're going to use for timing, but that'll be way off from the actual slot, and you have to realize this has to be removed in order to use those slots. That kind of tricked me the first time I did it. And this takes a big Allen hex. Let's see. This one here. And it's a 17. So get a 17 Allen, unscrew this counterclockwise, and then you'll have access to the correct slot for the timing tool. So those are some of the tips that I've come to be familiar when doing these. And lastly, the crankshaft pulley is not keyed, and so it's important about how you line that up, because it's also part of the lining up the crankshaft sensor trigger pickup. And so you have to use this tool to line it up, the crank pulley, and then this to help line up the sensor. And I'll get you a shot of all of that. And also to show you the before I disassemble it. So the cams are angled this way. They're not in the correct spot. Just to check and see where the crank pulley was prior to disassembling, it is in the correct position. So I've got the tool installed, and then that we know we have our piston at top dead center, which this lining up also is another factor that basically helps quantify that setting up the timing through finding TDC the way that I do lines everything up. So we found TDC with the gauge. We check this tool, it installs correctly, so we know we're at TDC. And then if you look at that tooth that has a circle on it, that's supposed to line up with the center point of that sensor. So down low we are correct. Our timing is off up top from the bottom, and now we can continue with disassembly. Alright guys, so I've got this all put back together. I left the coils unplugged. The reason why is anytime I do major work like timing or cylinder heads or engine replacement, I'd like to crank the engine over quite a few times, trying to get the oil pressure to build up. For now, we've got the crank area exposed, but we've got all our tools, timing tools, removed. Everything is pretty much put back together, minus a few things. On this particular model, I did do a pre-scan. Obviously, before tearing it apart, I did want to make sure I logged everything. So what I am going to do is clear every fault code in all systems. That way we can start fresh. One other thing, though, that I do want to point out, that when doing timing work on these 2.0 Range Rovers, based off past experience, you want to make sure you reset kind of the timing pattern or the learn pattern in the engine computer. If not, you can have it time correctly and it will throw timing codes. So now that all the codes are clear, let me go ahead and turn the key off, and then I will go into clearing the timing portion of it. So it looks like it's here in special function, or would be, hopefully. All right, there we go. So we've reset the what they're calling the adaptations, I think. But hopefully the timing stuff's within that. So let's back out this way. And so what we're gonna do now is crank it over. Again, first time cranking after putting it all back together. Okay, so that sounded good. I think we'll go for one more try. All right, so we'll shut it down. I'm gonna plug the coils back in, clear the trouble codes for this, cranking it with no coils, and then we'll crank it up, see how it does, how it sounds, how it runs. All right, let's give it a shot. All right, guys, we got the runner. All right, guys, so thank you for coming along. Hopefully that was informative for you guys with tying in the physical damage with what we saw and captured with the waveform. And hopefully everything makes sense when we put it all together. Gonna go ahead, test drive it, make sure everything is good, no leaks and anything. But other than that, this one obviously is a wrap, no more codes. Timing is fixed, and we'll get this back to the customer. So again, thank you for watching, and that's all.